त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनम् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्
Hi, this is Amelía Eon Karis.
Hey everyone, it's Satya, and you're listening to Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. So, you know that weird feeling you get, like when you don't trust something or someone, and yet there's no apparent reason for you not to trust?
Oh my God, yes. That's like a regular occurrence for me. I used to think I was kind of crazy because it would happen so often and it was really uncomfortable. It would make no sense whatsoever to my mind, you know, like, why am I being distrustful here? But I couldn't shake it.
Oh, wow. And then did it ever come to fruition where you felt like you finally were like, see, I was right.
Proven right. Yeah. A number of times, but there was one time where it was so bad and it ended up totally changing the course of my life. And it was like a good couple of years of grappling with it on a daily basis. So yeah, there was one particular moment.
So what happened? Where were you living when this happened?
Oh, I was in India, and yeah, I was at a hard time. I had been living there for about a year, and I hadn't really made any close friends. And I really wanted to farm. My husband and I were kind of going in different directions. He went back into managing a tech company, and I had wanted to get a farm in rural India. And I wanted to be up with this woman who was my mentor. And he ended up kind of putting a stop to that. And he got me a farm like way out in the middle of nowhere where they hadn't even seen white-skinned people. So I was out living there, and he was traveling all the time on business. So I was alone in rural India, managing a farm for the first time in my life, which is no joke. It's not easy in a country it's totally backwards, with rural people that don't speak English, and they don't respect women, definitely boss women. So nobody would really listen to me. And I really needed his help and his like authority at the farm, but he was always traveling. So he'd come home like on the weekends. And
was this the tantric sex guy?
Yeah. The guy with the 24-hour orgasm. Yeah.
Yes. Or who gave...
If you haven't heard that episode, I think it's in the beginning. You'll have to go back to the archives, but it's out there. Yeah. You can put the pieces together. But well, basically he was knowing that I like really needed friends, and he had a business partner. Well, it wasn't a partner. It was like his VP. So he's the president of the company, and he had hired this guy to like be his VP, and he traveled a lot with him. And that guy was married, and he was like, yeah, so, you know, this guy and his wife, you will probably really like her. You guys have a lot in common. She also works in tech. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I left tech a couple of years ago and I was into farming. So she lived in the city. I was living out in the rural life. And he kept spending all this time with this other couple because he was always traveling in the city, and I was way out in the middle of nowhere. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, I can't wait to meet them. And so we finally had a dinner set. Well, actually, I went to a dinner for his colleagues from Japan because I had helped him set up the company. It was my old colleagues from Japan that had put him as the CEO. So I was a part of the formation of the company. So I thought I was going to a business meeting with the Japanese guys and him and his partner. And then in the middle of the dinner, this guy's wife shows up, like right after we've ordered, she's totally late to the dinner. Nobody even told me she's joining us.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wearing like this red dress and this plunging neckline and red lipstick. And mind you, we're in Bangalore. And
I was going to say, is that okay for India?
no. And what was not okay is like, I also told the Date Rape Diary podcast where, I got attacked and he was the one who said, what were you wearing? And after that situation, I had started dressing really conservative because of his influence, because it was sort of like I asked for that attention and therefore I asked for that kind of attack. And so here she comes, and we're in India where you don't wear red and not modern Western clothing like that. I mean, even in San Francisco, that is what she was wearing was shocking. But let alone in India was shocking. And then she sits down at the table and she talks a lot. And it's the first time I'm meeting her. And I was looking forward to meeting her. I was thinking, oh, my new best friend. But nobody told me she was even coming to the dinner. And then she sat between me and my husband. Between us. And I was like, why is she sitting there? But he just moved over like, oh, she's here. And all the men were like falling over themselves on her because she's gorgeous, right? But they were literally like acting stupid around her. And here I was like in a serious business meeting with them. Right. And I thought we were like, talking numbers during dinner and what we were going to do to expand the market in India. Mm-hmm. And she shows up and the whole game changes and she starts ordering drinks. And, I don't drink. And my ex-husband, he didn't drink either. And then all of a sudden everybody starts drinking and she's getting plastered. And the more she drinks, the louder she's getting. And then she keeps speaking in Urdu with my husband and nobody at the table speaks Urdu except the two of them. And then she would lean over and like touch my leg and be like, oh, did he tell you about that? Or it's this joke. And okay, so I got up and I just left. I left. I took a cab back 3 hours home to the farm. And I was like, okay, I don't know why he didn't tell me that. So it kind of set this wrong tone. Right. But it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was like, why was I there? What was the point of all this? And why did he ever think that we would get along? We have nothing in common. And I definitely have this like weird thing around women who drink and talk too much. And also he has this thing where he doesn't think women should wear lipstick. So I never wore lipstick with him. And here she is in this like red lipstick. And I just remember thinking like, why he's acting so stupid. He's always been this tantric master and he's acting like a fool around her.
Oh man. So even he was acting that way. And did he drink? Or you said he doesn't drink, but
he didn't. Okay. Him and I don't drink. I mean, the rest of the table is drinking. And the guy, her husband, I knew he was like having an affair or something. I could see him always texting with someone. And I was like, I had told, my husband, like, I think that, is this guy having an affair on her? Because he clearly acts like it and looks like it. And he was like, yeah, I think so. I don't know. He doesn't tell me, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so my husband's sort of like trying to make her feel included or something. And I don't know. It was just this weird vibe. Okay, it's kind of obvious why I didn't feel good and I left, but it continued to get weird. And here I am like these are his new best friends. And I'm supposed to like, for all apparent reasons, like hang out with them and have dinner parties with them and get to know them. And often her husband would come to our house for dinners because they were traveling together, but she wouldn't be there because they had a kid. And I don't know. It was just this really interesting dynamic.
Wait, they had a what? They had a
kid. She had two of them had a kid. So she didn't travel to come to see me. Like,
my stomach's all in knots.
I feel weird even talking about it. But the whole point is, can I vomit right now? It was just like a horrible time in my life. But basically, like I was supposed to like her. And, clearly I was getting these vibes of like, what is this? But the way I was reacting was way more dramatic than what I was expected to. Like my husband was constantly like, what is wrong with you? Why are you acting?
Yeah, because like the quote appropriate way to react to that would be, okay, so, you were really acting like a fool around her. And yeah, I get it. I mean, that would be like somebody, in the West walking in like a garter belt and like stockings or something. I mean, or like a bikini. Yeah. So I get it, and I can forgive you, but I'm still pissed off and what the hell, and then, so there would be, a conversation, and then like that would be that. But
and even like why am I having a problem with a girl in a red dress and red lipstick when I'm from the West? Like that. I have a lot of friends that dress like that, but I was somehow feeling like, how dare she dress like that? I was taking everything crazy.
You were acting like you would never, because I know from things that you've told me that when you were in San Francisco, I mean, you were anything but jealous. Like you were never jealous.
No, it's not my style. I'm way more cool than that.
You were, I mean, a woman probably could walk up to your, when you're in San Francisco wearing God knows what, and you probably wouldn't even bat an eyelash then.
No, it's true.
So
something was going on. I was acting out of character.
Right.
And he was surprised. Everybody was surprised. Like, what's wrong with her? Is she
and this was a guy who had seen you. Right. And this was a guy who had seen you have an orgasm for 24 hours, be blasted open Kundalini wise, and then be in a total celibate state and everything else. So, I mean,
So anyway, my reaction was a bit strong. But what was weirder was like what happened for the next many months. Something about that night, I just couldn't get over it. But there was like multiple times he was like, okay, we've got to try this again because these are our new best friends. Like we run a business with them.
Right.
And we're like the power couple friends, right? We're supposed to like get along. And they were even considering to move their family to where we lived to be closer to me because I wasn't going to move into the city. And, we put the headquarters of the business out to this like tier 2 city, not in Bangalore, because I wanted a farm and I needed to be a part of the business. So it was kind of like everything was sort of revolving around me. And then she shows up and all these guys are becoming stupid. Like I was like the intellectual business mind behind their entire connection. And then she shows up and the whole thing's gone into like, I feel like I'm at a hostess bar and she's pouring drinks for the guys and entertaining them. And I'm trying to do business. So I left, and I was like, this is not, I don't even know how to do this anymore. This isn't my world. I just want to be on the farm.
But so what was your strong reaction? Like you said, you were...
I left the dinner. I just walked away. I got up and walked out and took a cab home 3 hours away. And my husband was like
3 hours away.
Yeah. Like I was supposed to stay the night in the city. Like I was there to like hang out with them. And I just dismissed myself from the dinner. I don't even think I ate dinner. I just left. Like had this really strong reaction to her.
Whoa.
And he was like trying to talk sense into me as I was walking to the cab, and everybody was left feeling like, is she okay? And I think he made up some excuse like I didn't feel well, but everybody knew I was pissed, So
it was almost like you got a download of an entire something.
I saw the whole thing. Yes. It was like a past life stab in the heart or something. That's what it felt like. And I kept thinking, who the hell is this woman? Not someone.
Oh, gosh.
Like it couldn't even just be like an innocent flirt. I'm sure I've been around a ton of women that were attracted to my husband, but my reaction to the whole thing. And he kept saying, like, why are you reacting like this? Can you please come back to the dinner table? And I was like, super cold to him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm going back to the farm. I can't be here. These are your people. Like, whatever. Deal with the business yourself. Nobody can even have a business conversation. I don't want to be here with her. I don't know why she's invited or why you didn't even tell me she's coming, because maybe I just felt literally jealous and excluded. Like I was no longer the center of attention at the table or something. I'm not sure, but I left.
Well, that would be the obvious thing, but it doesn't sound like, knowing you or knowing your history up to that point, that would have been something that you would do. So it was like you knew something about that situation that was much deeper that you couldn't process in that moment. You were like over, it was like,
she was triggering something very raw and primal in me that I couldn't control. And I think it was like a month later, we had, I think it was a couple weeks later, he invited me to have dinner at their house. And he was like, come on, we got to go meet them alone. So I went to that dinner and I hated it. I hated it. The second I walked into their house, I felt disrespected. Like every Indian house has like a prayer room, like a puja room. And her puja room was like filled like a closet with stuff like strollers and stuff. And her little kid was there. And I had this really weird feeling that her kid was being abused and not treated. I mean, I was freaking out in her house and I could barely sit through dinner. And I pulled him aside. I'm like, I need to leave now. And he's like, come on, not again. Like, here you go again, overreacting. Like, why can't you just act normal? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know who these people are, but I don't feel right.
Okay. So I'm dying to know the end of the story because I have a feeling something big, huge is coming.
Yeah. So then she came to another, just let me tell you there's a lead up. Then she came to, I had a puja on the farm where we like blessed the land of the farm. And, it's kind of like how you would do a wedding or something. It's a big
puja is a ceremony for those that don't know what a puja
it's like a fire ceremony with the pundit, the priest, the Hindu priest. And we blessed the land for good crops, and all the villagers came and the farm workers and some of our friends. And he invited this couple and she showed up in a white miniskirt, a white shirt. Okay. We're in a farm.
You can't even show your legs there. I've been there.
Exactly. She showed up like that with sunglasses on at noon, drunk. She was drunk.
Oh my.
And I could see this from far away because I can see a lot. And
right.
I said to him, is she drunk? She's not even allowed here. Like, get her out of here. And he was like, oh, not again. Like, really? Really? And so the whole puja, I had a bunch of people there from the US that worked with me in permaculture, helping me design this farm. And one of the girlfriends there knew this about me. So she kind of like helped me stay away from her. But even all the photos of that day, like I still look at them and I get the EBGBs. Like there was something with this girl. And I was like, what is it? So I started
because again, normally you would have just been like, oh
yeah,
gosh,
whatever.
She's showing up drunk, looking like that again. Oh, haha, but yeah.
No, I was livid. Like the rage that this woman incited in me was over the top. And I generally don't feel that kind of rage towards anybody, and it was really uncomfortable and I didn't know how to control it. I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth. And I came home after that puja and I locked myself in so I had a whole bedroom dedicated to the puja room at my house. And, I went inside and I locked it from my husband so he couldn't come in there while I was praying. And I was in there for hours. And she had gifted me a ring for the puja, which was beautiful. It was like the Shiva's eye ring. It was one of the most beautiful gifts I've ever been given. Like she totally got my style. It's not easy to buy jewelry or anything for me, really. I'm quite picky. And she just like figured me out. She knew that I would love this thing. And it was so nice that I felt like, oh, now we can be friends. She gets me, like it should be this like peace offering. But if I put it on my finger, something weird was overcoming me. So I went and I put it on the altar and I sat in front of the altar and I was crying and crying and crying and asking the goddess to show me, what is this past life? Like, who is this woman to me? And why am I so angry at her? Like, she hasn't done anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally just hate her. And I was sobbing. And then I heard that he's going to leave me for her or something. And I was sobbing to the point where like, my husband had died and I had no family, no one left. And I couldn't, I couldn't snap myself out of it. Like there was no reason for this whole drama, and he could hear me sobbing. So he's knocking on the door, you know, asking me to come out. And I finally like came out thinking like, okay, I've lost my mind. I've gone mad. Right. That's what I was thinking with myself. Like, but I couldn't snap out of it. And I said to him, the first thing I said when he looks at me, I said, "You're going to leave me for her?" And he's now like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Right.
And he held, I mean, good thing. He knew what to do. He was holding me and he's like, "You're the most important person to me in my life. I would never leave you for her. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, she's his wife. I don't even like her that much. I mean, I don't even really even know her." And I was just like, I couldn't breathe. And I had to do some travel like that next week or month or something because of my visa. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, he couldn't travel with me because he was busy with his work. And somebody needed to stay in the house and take care of the farm and the things there. So I had to go to Nepal by myself. So I left to Nepal and the energy got stronger. When I left, which should just be like a 1 week visa run, I was like, oh my God, my whole life's changing. I'm leaving him. Like, this is over. And it's complete overreaction to this situation. Like, he hadn't done anything, like nothing had happened. She'd given me a gift. We'd gone on some few dinners, you know, what's the big deal?
Right.
And I'm in Nepal and I can't stop crying. Like, I cannot stop crying for days and days and days on end. And I end up at like a friend of mine sister's house. Like, one of our neighbors had a sister that lived up in Manali, and he's like, "I think you should go stay with my sister." Cause I called my neighbors and I was like, "I can't come home. Tell him I'm not coming." And so I was in Manali and, crying again all the time. And everybody's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Oh, I think my marriage is ending." And they're like, "Oh, did he have an affair? Like, what happened?" I was like, "No, I just don't like this person."
Oh man.
It was just ridiculous. And I was on the roof doing ritual because the woman whose house I was in, she had some crazy ex-husband who was trying to take the kids. And I guess that's why this guy asked me to stay there, because he thought I could help her. And so I was removing the curse that was on this house and these children and this woman. So I was on the roof and all these black crows came to help in my ritual. And I had this thing. I speak to birds. I work with birds, and I've had it since I moved to when I was living in Japan. But this night I never saw so many crows in my life. And so I started talking to the crows, and I'm like in a state where I am at the depth of my grief. You know, those feelings where you've just been swallowed by grief and you can't breathe. You're like, it was that bad. There was no covering it up. And I was on the roof. Thank God nobody could see me. No one could hear me. So I was letting myself go there. And I made this prayer like with all my heart. And I asked the crows to send a message to this woman. And somehow I kept seeing us as like, I felt she had done witchcraft on my husband. Like, I thought she'd put like a spell on him to make him act so stupid, because I couldn't understand why he was behaving the way he was around her. Like, he was a tantric master. Like, how did he become so dumb and belligerently like, now, mind you, we hadn't had sex for 5 years, so I knew he really needed to have sex. But this was like too much for me. And anyway, he called me like a week later and he said, something really strange happened. I was at, that couple's house having dinner after a business meeting, and about 100 crows ascended onto their apartment railing, squawking, like incessant squawking, to the point where all three of them had to like stop what they were doing and be in wonder, like, how can so many crows chose their balcony and not the other there's hundreds of apartment units. It's Bangalore, it's one of these mega.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
And he called me and he goes, she told me that, the girl told him, I think that, Amelia was trying to send us a message, but she didn't know that I hated her. Yeah.
She said that?
She said that to him. And he was like,
what?
He's like, so do you know what they were saying? And me and my like angry, witchy way was like, oh, it takes 5 days for the crows. Okay, well, now I know how to work with them. And he was like, wait, what? You sent them? And I was like, yes, I sent them with a strong message. It's like, okay, like, well, we got the message. I'm like, did she get the message?
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
So I feel like I'm working in these other timelines and other realities. And what was interesting is, even though, my husband was super, he was gone through the whole spiritual awakening with me. He's a total master of other realities. So, but even for him, this was like an overreach, it was a bit much. And for her, she was in tech and she wasn't really into all this spiritual stuff, but she was clearly understanding that something very intense was going on between us.
And she didn't know that. I mean, she didn't
realize I was angry and hating on her. No, because he never told her.
And did she have any feelings for him at that time?
This is what happened, because I was like, did she say anything? And he was kind of buffering my reality and her reality, because her reality was like, oh, I really want to hang out with Amelía. Like, did she like the ring? How's your wife? She was playing the whole sweet, I want to be friends thing. And on the other hand, he's hearing me say, I hate this woman.
Right.
So he didn't really know what to do. And he obviously did not share my sentiments with her, because he didn't feel that was appropriate or know how to do that. But basically, I wouldn't go home. He was like, would you come home? When are you coming home? And I was like, I don't know, but I have to wait for something. I'm waiting for something. And he didn't realize that he couldn't even handle me anymore, because I was crying all the time. Like, every time he talked to me, I was crying as if he was dead.
Right.
And he's like, I'm right here. What is wrong with you? And I was like, let's not talk for a few weeks. I can't speak to you. And I just kept telling everyone, I go, this is happening and I don't even know what to do. So I ended up being away for like a month. And on like week 3, he calls me and he goes, I think I know why you've been so upset.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, what? Why? And I said, oh, so now you know? And he goes, yes, I do have really strong feelings for her. And I didn't realize it. But I was alone with her and something happened. And I think, yes, I am, like, I'm in love with her.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And this is his best friend, VP's wife. Mind you. So then I was like, I knew it, And I was like, okay. And he's like, nothing really happened, but well, I think they kissed. I think they probably had some sort of passionate thing. And it didn't go very far, but he was like, yeah, so you were right. And, him and I had like an open dialogue about attraction to other people. Like it wasn't, I really, at that point, I honestly could care less if he slept with someone else. In fact, I was kind of encouraging him to find someone to sleep with, because I didn't want to have sex with him, but he was my best friend. And I didn't want to change our relationship. I wasn't ready to change our relationship because he was my family. He was like the only thing I had in my life at that time. And the only one who understood my multidimensional nature and really nurtured it and helped me activate it. And he was there for the whole thing, you know? Right. So I came back. Oh, well, no, what happened was the next day I called her at work. I called her and she answered the phone and she thinks I'm calling to like schedule a lunch date with her or something. Like, oh, finally maybe I'm like thanking her for the ring or something, right? But that's not why I was calling her. I just said, so are you in love with him?
Oh, wow.
And she was just like, what? And I'm like, look, you can't hide these. So I told her, like, look, I see through interdimensional spaces, and I realized that you guys have to explore something together. And I just want to know, are you in love with him or are you just trying to seduce him? Because, you know, he is my husband and I don't want him like falling into some trap with you. Right. And she was just like, she couldn't speak. She's like, I'm at work right now. And I was like, look, I said, just give me 5 minutes. Here's the thing. I know your husband is not good to you. Like, I know that, but this guy, he's a good guy, you know? And I was like, so, we can work something out. Why don't you and your husband come to our house for dinner and let's have an open discussion about it and we'll just make an arrangement. Like basically telling her, you can sleep with him as long as you respect me and give me space with him. You know, that's kind of what I was saying. Well, she was just like completely shell shocked and she was basically lying. She's like, I don't know what I'm feeling towards him. I'm like, he told me what happened. And then she's like, So yeah, long story, but
whoa.
And it ended up, okay, long story short, I left him because they couldn't respect what I was needing. Like I was asking her to not text when he's home because he's only home on the weekends and the rest of the time he's not around me. So it's like when he is with me, I prefer you guys don't communicate or don't call him and don't text him. So their relationship started from that day on. And I don't know, maybe 3-4 months later, I kicked him out of the house because I was like, I can't do this. Like there's something about that woman. It could be any woman in the universe, God. Why is it her? Like any other woman, I'd probably like celebrate her and say, yes, please sleep with him because I can't. I don't know what it is, but I love him. And I thought that our relationship would evolve into something else. But instead, it had to be this like female darkness. And I started seeing red because like they just weren't able to respect my basic needs and they were lying.
Yeah, that's not that much to ask for, is to just like take weekends off. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I think there was just some sort of like dumbstruck love spell that he was under with her. I mean, he was acting so unusual.
What ended up happening with them? Are they still together?
They were together for 4 years. And the reason it ended is her parents ended it. But basically, dude got the business and he got the woman. And her
husband,
he ended up becoming the CEO. My husband had to step down because it was going to cause the whole company to fall. It was causing the company to fall apart. So he stepped down and she was waiting for me. She wouldn't even tell her husband until I left him. So I was like, I'm going to make this easy for you because I will tell your husband. So I'm leaving mine so that you can live in honesty.
Right.
So yeah. Once I left him, then she left her husband maybe like 6 months later. And then they were together for 4 years.
Her parents ended it? No, this is something you only hear of in India.
Yeah, there's arranged, it's caste system and he's a Brahmin and she's a Sikh and he had been married at that point 3 times.
Oh boy.
No longer had a job and her parents knew him. They knew the story. They knew that he was married to me. And they didn't think that their daughter should be involved in such a scandal. So they forbid her to stay with him. So she had to leave him. So it was quite tragic, the ending of their relationship. But it wasn't until their relationship ended that him and I were able to even talk again. So then we were able to process like a year after they split up. Isn't that interesting?
Whoa.
But so I think we just know things. We know things when we don't.
No, we know
I
them.
have a lot of those stories. That one just happened to be like the most dramatic and drawn out, full of anger and rage without any understanding. And some people will be like, oh, well, maybe you created that because you were focusing on it so much that he just.
Yeah. What about that? Somebody is going to say like, well,
And I thought that. I kept thinking, am I creating this? Am I creating this? But it was way beyond. No, this was cellular memory being unlocked and me, going through like levels of feeling disrespected and uncared.
I can't believe you sent crows. People are going to be scared of you now.
Oh, I've done a few bad things like that. And I've learned. That's why I teach people how to manage and master their energy, because I learned from my rage, like what I'm capable of when I need someone to listen to me and they're not listening.
Right. And, really everybody, we're all having that effect. That's how powerful we all are. And if we think that we're not, that's where the problem happens.
It's how you harness it, right?
Right.
Some people are mad and they just like break something, but I'm not that kind of person. Like, it takes me a long time to get mad. You
send beautiful birdies.
When I get mad, it's like the rage of the universe underneath me. It's not like a small, like, hey, don't do that. It's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You will never, ever forget this because I have told you again and again and again and again and again. And no matter how many times I said it in a nice voice, nobody listens. So then I'm like,
wow,
okay, I'm pissed. Now I'm pissed.
Boy, well, anyone who knew you then, well, they anything you say after that, they're going to listen.
Well, those two sure will. I don't know how many people witnessed it because I didn't really know a lot of people at the time, but it definitely was a mega turning point for me. But it was the best. You know what? It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was so hard to move through. I literally saw red for a year. My eyes were red. Everything I looked at was red.
What?
Yeah, that's how much rage was like being. I think that they were such huge teachers for me because I had to transmute the rage I carried from my childhood, from past lives. Like, I was transmuting anger at a level that I didn't think I could survive. And I nearly didn't because I got jaundice, which, almost.
And to know something before it happens, it's almost like they've betrayed you when they haven't even betrayed you.
Yeah, I felt deeply. Yeah, it was the wound of betrayal for sure.
But you would have felt so betrayed. Yeah. And then, clearly, they couldn't process the whole idea of trying to do like an open relationship thing. And
no, it wasn't in their culture. That's not their, It's not their way. The California, like San Francisco style of communicating in a relationship did not fly in India. It doesn't fly there. They're like queens of indirect subtleties.
I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that have felt this, that at some point in your life, everyone has felt that they knew something or they had a feeling about something. And then later it ended up being proven or they just go into denial and just overwrite it completely. And they live a whole life, a whole double life that they don't even know they're living or something,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that story is amazing to me because it's just a good reminder for me and inspiration, even though you know, even though you were like, but just, I love it. I love it that you knew so that you trusted something inside you.
I had no choice, but yeah, I couldn't contain it. It was just too much of a volcano.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for listening to all that.
See you next time.
Okay over there.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you'd like to contact us and stay in touch with us, you can find us at lovesexagenda.com. That's lovesexagenda.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda.